The following thoughts and opinions regarding this album are strictly of my own personal interests. I am not a professional music reviewer. I do encourage respectful discussion and friendly banter of each episode, but I do not condone and will not tolerate bullying or belligerence of any kind. Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rate the Record podcast, episode 116. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm your host, Chris, as always, sitting here doing album reviews with you, so that way you can give me your opinion as I give you mine, all that kind of fun stuff. That's what this podcast is all about. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you do like what you see and or hear today, you can do it now or at the end of the episode. Regardless, I'll let you wait if you want. There's one thing, a bunch of things, or all the things I'm about to list that you can do to help move this show along and just get it more popular and just make me feel real good about doing it. It's one of the following: like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. One of those things, a bunch or all six of them, really do help move this show along. I'm not just saying that, it is actually true. The algorithm likes that kind of stuff, and also my heart expands about 2 or 3 sizes in a healthy manner. So if you would please do one of those things, I would truly appreciate the support. It means the world to me. I love it. Thank you very much if you do decide to do that. And you can find all the places to do those things over at ratetherecord.ca. That is ratetherecord.ca. You'll find all the streaming links, social media links, the merchandise links for RTR merch, and of course the RTR Club. If you want to pay $3 a month, the optional way to support the show financially. It's optional, but the option is indeed yours. You can get early access to episodes, request albums for me to do right here on the podcast. You get a shout out on social media, general easier and faster, and just general Discord with me all together. And of course, if you have a band and you got like a song that you want me to review and that I can eventually put into a compilation on YouTube and everything like that, by all means, I can do that over at ratetherecord.ca, and that's in the RTR Club specifically. But if you've been here before, you know this already. That's it. Period. You just know all of this stuff. So thank you very much for coming back, hearing that, and hanging out with me again for another episode, checking out another album. This one should be fun. But if you haven't been here before, I said this one's going to be fun. They're all fun. So thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy your stay. Have fun with all of us too. Me here, sitting here with you, doing these album reviews. You might not know what we do besides, the actual title of the podcast itself, Rate the Record. That part's pretty obvious. Let me just run it down for you real quick. Each week, I will choose an album. I can choose it completely at random, whatever the hell I want to listen to. Maybe it's celebrating an anniversary. Maybe it's one of the RTR Club requests. Maybe something else is going on, like, the Rate the Record anniversary when I did Pearl Jam, for example. Regardless, I will choose an album. I will listen to it front to back right here on the podcast. I listen to the whole thing, but you'll hear it in few second chunks here on the podcast because I don't want to get my ass kicked by copyright. I give you my opinions on the songs, the entire album, and then finally the bread and butter of the podcast. I rate the songs and then rate the record. As per always, that is the standard. So if that sounds like fun, then let's have some fun together. Why not? That's what we're here for. And today, for episode 116, we are going to have fun by listening to System of a Down and their self-titled album from 1998. Now, we've done System of a Down on the show before. I believe it was episode 50 back in season 3. We did Toxicity. And obviously, that's a fantastic album, one of the staples of System of a Down's kind of brief career with album making, because they only did, 4... if you want to count 5 albums, I guess, if Mesmerized and Hypnotized are 2 different albums. But this time we're going all the way back to the beginning with their very first album, which I know a lot of people consider System of a Down to be a metal band, which they are, but I would argue this album is very punk in nature. I know there's a lot of thrash elements in it, but I think this album definitely has a lot of bedding in punk. We'll get into that as we talk about the songs and everything like that, but first let me tell you a little bit about the album in general. System of a Down's self-titled debut studio album was released on June 30th, 1998. Prior to this was a series of demo tapes that were released between 1995 and 1997 that had early renditions of songs that would appear on this album, as well as other bonus tracks. The album was recorded at Sound City Studios, The Mansion in Hollywood, California, and was released through American Recordings and Columbia Records. The album was produced by the band themselves, as well as renowned producer Rick Rubin, who has worked with bands such as Beastie Boys, Slayer, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Rage Against the Machine, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and so many more. The band consists of John Dolmayan on drums and percussion, Shavo Odagian on bass, Darren Malakian on guitars and backing vocals, and Serge Tankian on vocals and keyboards. Self-Titled has garnered mostly positive reviews across the board. Kerrang gave the album a 5 out of 5, AllMusic, Q, and Rolling Stone gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and Pitchfork gave it a 7.5. The album charted in 4 countries upon its original release, with the US Top Heatseekers chart placing it at number 1. The album is certified gold in 3 countries, Canada, Italy, and the UK, and platinum in 2 countries, twice in the US and once in Brazil. The album officially spawned 2 singles, Sugar, which peaked at number 28 on the mainstream rock tracks charts, and Spiders, which peaked at number 25 on the mainstream rock track charts. Well, there's some general information about the album for you. If you didn't already know the music, well, now you know some tidbits to go along with it. If you didn't know the music, you're about to know more because we're going to listen to it. I've been a big System of a Down fan for a long time. I mentioned that when we did Toxicity back on episode 50. And I think this album has been fantastic through the years. I don't think it's ever gotten old to me. Off camera here, for the video viewers, off to the side, I actually have a poster which really represents the first album altogether. Maybe I'll show a picture of it if I can. If not, then just believe it's over there somewhere. It's probably in the older episodes too. I digress. Again, I know System of a Down is a metal band, and Toxicity is a great metal album. Mesmerize, Hypnotize, Steal This Album, all that kind of stuff. This album, I think, despite having thrash startings and like lower tunings and everything like that and being heavy, definitely feels like more of a punk album to me. And I think you'll understand why as we go further through this. And to prove my point, I suppose, let's start with song number 1, that being Sweet Pea. Pause it right there because that's the very end of the song. Song number 1, Sweet Pea. And by the way, if you notice, for video viewers at the very least, audio viewers, don't worry, or listeners, I should say, don't worry about this. It's fine. It has nothing to do with you. But video viewers, if you notice the screen looks suddenly different, it's because there's 4 releases of this on Spotify, this particular album. And apparently almost all of them are censored. And I wanted the original version, so I had to dig through these 4 releases, found the original uncensored version, so here we are. I just had to switch mid-song. It's fine. Song number 1, Sweet Pea. There we go. The album has kicked off. It is indeed a great starter to the album. It always has been. That fun, like, little, like, ascending, descending kind of harmonic intro riff is super fun. I've always liked that. Very, just gets you in the mood for everything. The song is fast, hyper, and it's also well-rounded with that heavy breakdown that comes towards the middle, which obviously, going through this album, spoiler alert, if you don't know already, happens quite a bit in this album. But you know what? It's fine. It sounds fun all the time. One thing I will say, though, is after all of this time, and by all of this time, I mean, I've been listening to System of a Down since, I want to say 2000 or 2001. It's been quite a while to this point. I was like 11 or 12 when me and my friend kind of like got into them and everything like that. I digress. After all of this time, it's so hard for me to get into Serge's growling, screaming, whatever you want to call it. It's like this weird inward infliction of growling, and it just reminds me so much of guys that I knew in high school who attempted their own screaming and growling and kind of sounded this cheap at it. I don't want to make fun of Serge. I like him. I really do. He seems like a fantastic guy. But I mean, my God, I just think back to those dudes in high school who like thought they could scream. Definitely couldn't do it. And this performance by Serge, which he carries on through his career, by the way, it just, to this day, I can't. I just can't. It doesn't sound that great. But I don't dox marks from it, by the way. It's not going to tank the score. I'm just saying, I don't like when he does it. That's all. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know. But anyways, back to the song itself, though. At the very least, this gives you a good idea of what you're in for the rest of the album. And that really is kind of what you get. There are some points when it kind of slows down, gets a little more serious, and you'll see that as we go forward, but I think this is a really good idea of what you should be anticipating for the rest of the album. Let's find that out with song number 2. It's called No. Right there, song number 2. No, just another really quick hitter on this one, I swear to God. I mean, that's what this first album is known for, too. Very quick, to the point tracks. Video viewers, you can see next to me on the screen on this side over here, most of them are pretty short. Audio listeners, if you're listening along and want to listen to the album too, you can see the length of the songs. You don't have much to deal with on this one when it comes to time length. But I digress. That's not even a problem. Like, I'm just kind of making that a note. One thing I really like, and if you've been on the podcast before, you know this is a constant note, and you might even be waiting for me to make this point. Here it is, my friends. Great run on the tom drums to kick off the song. Yes, I adore rolling thunderous tom drums, especially when used aside from just being a filler. I like it. It's great here. It's a really fun way to start off the track, so you have my attention pretty much immediately. And I also like that it continued on to the bridge as well, so it gave you more to look forward to as the song's going. Not that the rest of the song was bad by any means, but just I like this part too. It's just fun, it's energetic, it's building, it's just a great time all around. I also really like the fast and bouncy groove that's kind of going through the verses. That's great stuff too. Very fun, keeps the energy like really lively. I'm still here having a great time, so it's gotta mean something, right? And you know what? I actually wouldn't have minded this one being longer too. I know there's been like reviews in the past where I'll say like maybe a song should be shorter. Like a 5-minute track should be like 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, because I don't know, you dragged this one on a little bit, could have done this, that, the other thing. No, this one actually could have been longer. It's just shy of 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. I feel like they could have like had a little more fun with the bridge, got a little more experimental with it, maybe just dragged it on, did some guitar stuff, more rolling drums, anything along the lines of that. I know at this point in their career that wasn't exactly in their wheelhouse, so I guess we can't be too expectant of that stuff. They get more like playful with that stuff a little later in their careers, but it wasn't at this point. They were just kind of like full force, here we go. But you know what, as I said, we get a quick and punchy song out of it. Very fun. I like it. This album is fantastic so far. And let's see if we can continue to enjoy this album as we move forward to song number 3. I mean, 298 million streams on Spotify, can't be wrong. Sugar. And we're going to pause again because these are a lot of sudden cut off. Song number 3, Sugar. I mean, aside from songs on Toxicity, probably one of the better known songs by System of a Down by a mile, an absolute mile. This is probably the first real injection in those jokes that are pretty strong to this day when it comes to the lyrics, because I mean, the lyrics sound very nonsensical and everything like that. And like, listen, I get it. I've been a System of a Down fan for well over 2 decades now. I get that they write some very like important, strong lyrics in many regards, and you'll hear that on this album as well. But I mean, like, this is one of those songs that even if it has a meaning behind it, it's just written in such a way where it feels like a very go with the flow style of writing lyrics. It's very fun because the song is quirky all around too. So, I mean, they might as well just kind of roll with it. And that's exactly what they did for this one. It's super playful instrumentally all around. So you can't help but get into it because of that. Just, again, quirky, very strange stuff. And I mean, that chorus. Extremely catchy chorus, very singable. You can hear the lyrics very clearly. The instrumentals are super simple. It's like a 3-note dissension for the whole damn thing. How can you not catch on? It's so good. But of course, that chaotic buildup towards the end as well. It starts out pretty slow. I don't want to say tame, but like it's like easier at first, and then just keeps going to be this very, very noisy, chaotic ending. I really like that. It's fun, very hyper. I mean, this album is like a gold mine for this kind of stuff. So if this is what you like, you're gonna like this album for sure. Let's see if that can continue to prove with song number 4, Suggestions. Wow, for once we actually have a fade out, not just an abrupt ending. Song number 4, Suggestions. Before I get into the song, I forgot, as I always do, to pull out a record. Well, I do own this one on vinyl, by the way. I was going to show it during Sugar at the very least, but I forgot to show it during Sugar too. But I'm going to show it now just because I have it. Whatever. Vinyl, perfect. I love this one. And not only that, my favorite color in the whole goddamn world, purple. This is a purple vinyl record. It's amazing. I love it. It's sparkly as shit. And I do still like spinning this one from time to time. I don't do it all the time, but you know, this one is a fun one to do. So let me just go ahead and kind of put that one back for a half second there and talk about song number 4, Suggestions. Audio listeners, I'm sorry that you didn't get to see it, but it's a very pretty record. I do like it. One thing I really like about the song, I like a lot about this song, but one thing I do really like is this back and forth between the quieter but quicker pace verses, I should say, to the really huge and explosive and like halftime feeling choruses. I do like this whole kind of like back and forth between those two, because you would expect something heavier to be faster and something quieter to be slower. So I like this whole like difference that we're kind of creating with that. It creates like something of a cool tension going through the whole song. So I do dig that. It keeps you on your toes a little bit. And also, I really love the build-up going into the bridge. A lot of the build-up happens with the second chorus, builds up, gets to a quieter kind of like teasing moment, like Iowa Storm type deal, and then just boom, huge explosive chorus. It's super effective, and it's super effective in a live setting. Now, I've only seen System of a Down live once in my entire life, and that was literally back when they released Toxicity. It might have even just been briefly before they released Toxicity, but they were still playing tracks from that album. I digress. Like, it's explosive. It works. It's fantastic, and it even sounds really good on an album too. So there you go. Really happy about that. But yeah, this one's just another really quick hitter. What can you say? But out of all the quick hitters so far we're getting on the album, I think this one's probably the more interesting to stand out to me so far. I know Sugar was pretty quirky, but just the way this one was structured felt really fun to me. I really like it. So, you know, what can I say? Just very pleased with this album so far. I did indeed choose it, so of course I'd probably feel pretty highly about it. Let's see how much highly, whatever. Anyways, let's see how much better this one gets with song number 5, Spiders. All right, another proper ending to this song too. Good to have. Song number 5, Spiders, the other single on this album aside from Sugar. I mean, though this track does have heavier parts, I mean, there's plenty of that scattered across it. I still feel like this one's like a good time for like one of those more chill come downs, and it has those moments sprinkled across it too. This one has a very dark and ominous atmosphere as compared to the previous tracks. So I think you kind of get that feeling of just kind of being able to settle a little more. Although the heavier moments do create a little more of that like frenzy, I still think this one kind of works as a good middle of the album. It's not quite middle of the album, but you know what I mean. Like get in there middle of the album, cool down moment. I kind of like that. I like where it is in the album. Smart choice. I'm also really loving that bass line that kind of like essentially drives the whole track. I know that the guitar eventually does play off it, and it does for many points in the song. But I mean, the bass starts the song with it, and it keeps going with the entire song. So I really like that. It's simple, but it's super catchy. It's super effective. So, I mean, I think about that bass line a lot. Again, very simple, but very easy. I think when it comes to like easy and simple bass lines from System of a Down, I also think back to like Steal This Album with the song Mr. Jack. Like the whole like opening minute or so of that song. That line sticks with me forever too. I adore that. I know this could very well be a guitar, but I think it is a bass. Regardless, it sounds good. It sounds fantastic. I love it. They did a good job with it here. And hey, look, it's the first song on the album to pass the 3-minute mark. We're 5 songs in, and it finally passed the 3-minute mark. Fantastic stuff. And if you ask me, it's worth every single second. Spiders is a single for a reason. We can hear it. It's fantastic. It's catchy, probably not as catchy as Sugar, but this one deserves to be a single. Like, this is fantastic stuff. Let's see if it continues to be fantastic with song number 6. I call it "The Devil." Some people call it "D Devil," but I think it's called "The Devil." So song number 6, "The Devil." Okay, another sudden ending right there. It's fine. Song number 6, "The Devil." Oh my God! Look, it's a minute and 42 seconds. This song pulls zero punches and just goes right for the throat because it's super hyper, super bouncy. Like this is like 3 pixie sticks and a Red Bull over the limit kind of hyper too. Like even when I first heard this song, like way back in the year 2000 or 2001, even then I thought this song was off the wall. So the fact that I'm sitting here as a 35-year-old man still saying the same damn thing, it goes to show it stands the test of time when it comes to this like kind of like crazy pacing of this song. I love how playful Serge is with his vocals in this one, and like I get it, he does that a lot in this album, and he has already done it. Like even Suggestions, he did it. For example, just as an example, like again, he's done it in more tracks, but I digress. One thing I really like though is just those like sudden falsetto bursts and hits that just kind of come out of nowhere. They're really fun and unexpected. I think it's all just always a good time when that happens. Like you can make fun of it all you want, but it's fun. Just let's have it. It's great. I like it. And also speaking of being fun, the instrumentals super fun all across this one too. Like all over the place, very bouncy. Even when it has that trademark Rick Rubin like just blast and compress the hell out of everything style of production, and you hear that towards the end. And if you don't know what I mean by that, very, very quickly, you tend to notice in some Rick Rubin productions that it gets suddenly very clippy and way over loud in the headphones, but the compression makes it quiet, hence why it sounds like it's breaking up in the headphones. This song has it. Other songs on this album have it too. I don't know why he does it. Loudness war, I guess. I don't know. But regardless, production can sound crappy if done like that, but I will say that I actually kind of like that style as an outro to this song. It's an already hyper tracked, so to have it like kind of crackling and breaking up at the end there, it kind of works in its favor for this one. So I'll let it slide. It's all good. Just let it go. Side bonus note, the first time I think I noticed him doing this, Rick Rubin specifically, is Slipknot. And because he's done a lot of work with Slipknot, but the one song that really stood out to me was on Subliminal Verses. And the second song, what is it called? The second song on Subliminal Verses that I do not remember the name, The Blister Exists. That's it. Yes, that's the one. The whole song's fine. You get to the very last chorus and suddenly it sounds like it's all blown out. I'm just like, why? It doesn't make it louder. The compression is actually destroying the sound. Don't do it. So I don't know. Very interesting choice. But again, it works here, so I won't complain too much about it. And to prove that I won't complain about it, we'll move on to song number 7, Soil. Sudden ending. Song number 7, War. No, that's the next song. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen. It's not War. Song number 7, Soil. That's the one. War's coming up next. We'll get to it. My brain's getting a little too excited for it. Anyways, Soil, though, on the other hand, God, a pretty intense track all around. Instrumentally, but I mean, like, even lyrically, I know I haven't really talked about lyrics too much on this album so far, but I mean, like, this one's pretty heavy lyrically. I mean, I'm not being monetized at this point on YouTube, so I don't really care. I can talk about it. The song is about, like, you know, suicide and dealing with the aftermath of a suicide of someone that you know, and obviously that can be very hard and heavy. And so I think the song portrays that well. There's a lot, you get like a lot of like confusion and anger and just frustration in the lyrics, in the vocal style, in the instrumentals. It's all kind of there telling a story. So I think it's really well pulled off. I mean, it's not an easy subject to kind of touch on, but I mean, apparently they did, and that's like they have experienced that. So that's why this song was written. And also, I mean, if you want to kind of look on a little more of the lighter side of this song, Soil, if you didn't know, was originally the name of System of a Down before they were System of a Down. I think technically Soil existed before the band even formed, but then they performed under the name Soil before they settled on System. They were supposed to be Victims of a Down, but then Shavo, the bassist, was like, no, that probably won't catch on as well, and some people might not be able to understand what we're saying. So System is a much more broad word, I guess, in this sense, and boom, System of a Down was born. There you go. A whole bunch of fun facts for the song Soil right there. That ties into the whole band, really. And also trying to get off the darker subject of it, even though it's very prominent all over this song. This song is really interesting in its composition, too, because you have like these quieter but tense moments in like the post-chorus sections that are like a good breathing moment through the intensity of the entire track, so it's nice to have. And it really thickens up the atmosphere too. Like, it doesn't really bring things down too much, but just enough for you to like catch your breath, and we're going into it again. Like, so I think it does a really good job of doing that. And this song too, one of the better, if not one of the best choruses, or not chorus, sorry, bridges on the entire album. The chorus is good too, don't get me wrong. I didn't mean to kind of shit all over that, but the bridge on this song, holy shit, fantastic stuff. The guitar work, the rolling and thunderous drums, just the building, the guitar work too. Oh my God. Like, I know I just said guitar work, but like, reflect on that in just half a second there. It's some of the better guitar work on the album, I think. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool shit happening in this one. It's just, I don't know, there's a lot to go on with it. And then, of course, you have that big a cappella hit just at the very end of the bridge going into the final seconds of the song. You know, the "why the fuck did you take him away from us" line. Like, very effective. Very cool stuff. Again, that's where that anger and frustration really comes out at full peak, right at the end. Perfect way to end the song. Great stuff all around. I like this song. This has always been a really good one on the set, too. What do I think about the other songs? How about that song I already mentioned by accident? Song number 8, War? Because there's a question mark. Get it? Huh, funny anyway. All right. Right there. Song number 8, War. Oh my God, like this one probably has always been a favorite of mine on this album. Will it come as number 1 on this album? I won't tell you yet. That's too early, but I will say this one has always been one of my favorites for sure. One of my favorites. So let that sit where it is. Anyways, I digress. Probably up there as one of my favorite guitar tracks on this album. I mean, there's a lot of great guitar work on this album, and I literally just talked about Soil a moment ago and how much I love that one. This one, like the riffage is just fantastic everywhere. I love that like little intro bit too. I always think that was really cool, but just like, I don't know, there's something about this one that's always stuck with me. And I think a lot of it comes from that bridge too, of like the constant ascension, dissension, and it's like 3-note runs. I really like that. It's very effective in what you're listening to in the music too. And as I said in the previous track, speaking of Soil again, like, I said that Soil had probably one of the better, if not one of the best bridges on the album. Well, this one is definitely in contention too, and I would like to hear anyone debate me on that one. I don't know which one I like more. I like them both for different reasons, and they're both very effective for their own reasons. Because like this one, like it's so tense in its build up to that final explosive chorus. You get that weird swirling chanting going in everywhere. The synths are added in just to add even more tension. It's like a lot of flowing textures, just kind of like, I don't know, giving that really hard emotional punch to the music. It works so well. And like, it's so fun to listen to. It's almost a shame that this song is so short, but at the same time, I think it deserves to be, because I couldn't imagine this one going on longer. You don't want to drag it out too long and have it be too much. You don't want it to be too short, and if you missed anything, this is fine. In my mind, I want it longer, but this is fine. This works. I like this. Fantastic track. Well, let's see if we can continue this roll with song number 9, Mind. I could probably leave it hanging there because it just fades into the next song from there. Song number 9, Mind. Yeah, longest song on that album, nearly 6.5 minutes. It's 6 minutes and 16 seconds, which, considering most songs barely peak at 3:30, this one kind of takes you by surprise with its length. But you know what? It's fine. It's a decent track too. I will say that much. Another one I've always really liked, and I believe this one was on the soundtrack for Blair Witch 2, like Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. And fun fact about myself. My favorite horror movie growing up was the Blair Witch Project, so when Book of Shadows came out, I was excited. And in retrospect, Book of Shadows sucks ass. It's terrible. It's not... It's... God. It's not awful, but it's not great. Anyways, that's a discussion for another day, because we're talking about System of a Down and the song Mind. This one is really interesting because the first minute and 44 seconds of this song is just this very... like mellow, moody build up to what you eventually get. Like, it feels like a different part of the song altogether. Like, it feels like it initially didn't have to be there, but to be honest, it still works. I still really like it. I like the intro. It's kind of a bait and switch, but there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's fantastic overall. It's a really welcome addition to this album and making things feel a little different, subverting expectations, keeping you on your toes. All the same kind of things. I'm just saying them in different sentences here at this point, but it works. I like it. And this one's obviously definitely not one of the like faster hyper tracks on the album. It does have its faster moments, but overall I think it's would be classified as that. But it still feels like really unhinged in many different regards. All over this song, some of the instrumental parts, a lot of the vocal performances, just the quick change-ups between slow to quick in certain points, different stylings in this and everything like that. Very unhinged, but again, that's what keeps you on your toes and keeps you interested and, like, you know, just sounds cool overall. I do like that. I will say though that the outro kind of drags a bit. I like the intro, but the outro just, I don't know, it drags on a little too long. It's not an awful portion or anything. I like the way it ends. They could have only done maybe 2 bars of it, but they went for like 4 or 5. So it's just like, I don't know, cut it off a little sooner. It would have been fine. You didn't have to go as long as you did. Just kind of a long, quiet, drawn outro that didn't really give you much more at that point. So anyways, we will move on now to song number 10. We're getting closer to the end of this album, but we still got 4 tracks to go, including this one, Peephole. Letting it ring out a little bit there, song number 10, Peephole. I've always found it particularly weird that this song in the beginning samples this song in the beginning. I know that's repetitive, but like it's just weird that this song starts with a sample of itself. Like, I don't know. I've always found that a little strange. It kind of reminds me of one of those cheap 90s music videos that could like start off in some sort of like weird spaceship. It's just like a weird incoming transmission, and then it's just like a weird spacey type music video. I mean, that's probably fitting considering that the song is indeed about being high. Yes, I'm very much aware of that. So I guess it suits, but I don't know, man. It feels weird to me. The intro bit's interesting too. It's definitely one of the more experimental tracks on the album for sure. I don't think there's much ways in debating that, especially with that intro, especially with the cartoony style waltzy portions of the verses and everything like that. It's kind of there. And I like in the intro too that you can, if you listen close enough, like, I don't think that's a sample of an organ. I think that's actually maybe Serge playing it, because like you can hear the clicking of the keys. If you turn it up loud enough in your headphones, you can hear it. So I always thought it was like a weird sample, but I think it's actually being played. So I think that's very interesting, very cool, very strange, atmospheric, sci-fi style of intro there. The rest of the song's cool too. I won't lie. As interesting as the song is, it's never really fully caught me. I don't dislike it, but just, I don't know, there's something about this one that never really grabbed me enough. So maybe some people love it. Maybe you love it more than me. You can let me know that. Other than that, that's just how I feel about it. It's still decent enough though. Not bad, not bad. I don't think there's a bad song on this album overall. Maybe. We'll find out with song number 11, Qbert. All right, song number 11, Qbert. Listen, I'm not going to lie. It's always a great way to start a sentence. It's a great way to start a review, too. I'm not certain that in the over 2 decades I've known of System of a Down, have listened to this album countless times over and over again, owning the vinyl. It's now behind me on the wall for video viewers to see. In the 2 decades plus I've listened to this album, I don't think I've ever really dug this song. I don't think I have. I don't know if I've hated it, but I've always chosen to skip it. I've heard the whole thing through many times, don't get me wrong, it's not my first time now. But I mean, I don't know, this one just doesn't do it for me. The intro alone definitely sets me off on the wrong foot too, with that one guitar note that just kind of goes for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds. It's very grating in the ears because it's very loud. So I don't know. I'm not too fond of it. Maybe I'm too picky. Maybe I'm not having enough fun with this album. I don't know. But this one just doesn't stand out well enough to me, is what I'm trying to say. I do like, once again, as you would anticipate, the thunderous usage of tom drums that go through like occasionally to the track. Like it's like kind of in the verses and the bridges a little bit too, I guess. Just something I really like about it. So it has that about it that I really enjoy. And at the very least, it's super short and punchy. We're talking, what are we talking here? 1 minute and 49 seconds. Another just very to the point kind of track. But even now, I can't say that I'm all that much more into it. These repeated listens for this review hasn't done much more for me. So I don't know. Expect it a little lower in my song rankings. That's all I can say. For now, at the very least. I'll tell you more about it later, exactly where it sits on the song rankings, after we get through these next two songs, including the penultimate track, song number 12, Darts. That's the end of that one. Song number 12, Darts, another very abrupt ending. Album has a lot of those, so if you're not used to it by now, don't worry, there's only one song left anyway. Song number 12, Darts. It's another song I'm not super into, nor have I been in the past. Like when I was younger and listening to this album, like it wasn't a matter of whether or not I liked songs. It's just like, they're all great. They're all down. They're all fantastic. But I mean, as an adult, I can realize what I did and didn't like back then, and it hasn't really translated well now. Some songs have grown better on me, but Darts is another one that hasn't really done that. I will say though, some positive stuff that like I really like the simple, hard hitting choruses. Like it's fast to the point again, so it's nice to have that there. The instrumentation and the verses are very fun too. It's a little quirky, not as quirky as some of the other songs, like even Sugar, for example, or The Devil. But like this one is still there. It's fine, especially with like the high end bass parts too. I do like those. I think that's kind of adding something different to the tonal, like sonic soundscape altogether. So I like that. That's at least fun to deal with in this track. But this one never really hit the mark for me though. Like it's never has, and I wanted it to. I came back to this album and I wanted it to, because there are things about the song that I do like. But this song has done nothing but always remind me that there's one more better song to end the album on. So what could that song possibly be? We'll get to it now. Song number 13, Pluck, and it stands for Politically Lying Unholy Cowardly Killers.
Genocide, taken away all the economic stuff for us and the sword.
And as the song fades out, song number 13, final song in the album, Pluck, Politically Lying Unholy Cowardly Killers. That's the last time I'll say the full title. I'll just call it Pluck from here on out. God, man, this song is a great enter to the album. It really is, in every manner of speaking. It's fantastic. Like, although I like songs that are kind of like longer at the end to kind of like really make the end of the album feel powerful, but sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you just need 3 minutes and 37 seconds to do it, and this one did it. The whole song is structured and paced so well, and it changes up kind of a bit as it goes through, because you have like this intro that's super intense. Really exciting too. The verses are like more tame, but very danceable. So the energy is still very much there. And the chorus is a lot more spacious and drawn out, but it's very heavy and impactful. So like you can't help but get drawn into it a little bit. And speaking of being heavy and impactful, I mean, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the lyrics even a little bit. And this is going to be more for the people who clicked on the video who might not know much about the band, because if you clicked on this video and you know even a little bit about System of a Down, none of this, what I'm about to say, is news to you. So this is not for you, but you can just kind of nod your head and agree because you already know anyways. But to those of you who don't know, I mean, this song is about the Armenian genocide of 1915. And again, if you don't know, this band, System of a Down, is comprised of Armenian Americans who are very proud of their heritage. And so, shocker, they're very outspoken on topics like this. So, of course, this song is going to appear on this album. I know this was like an older one written to like a long time ago, and they've like written songs like this even in demos form and everything like that. So shocker, it appears here. Shocker, it appears later in their discography as well. It's something that they speak a lot about. And I believe the song Holy Mountains that comes on either Mesmerize or Hypnotize, I can't remember which one, is kind of pretty much a tie-in to this one. Same exact theme of just being like, F the Turkish government for not recognizing the genocide. Because again, that's what the whole thing's about. I don't feel nearly qualified enough to even remotely try to talk about it. So that's why it's best that I drop this there and also take off my headphones, put them over here on my headphone stand, because we have reached the end of this album. This is just an overall super impactful debut album for a band. Sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes like a debut album for a band is just kind of like, this is where they started, but they got better as they went along. And I mean, that's not to say System didn't get better. Of course they did. Toxicity was huge. Steal This Album was decent, kind of played off of that. Mesmerize, Hypnotize is influential in its own way, but I don't know. This one really hits it. Like, this is a perfect, damn near perfect debut album. And I mean, obviously they had the luxury of shopping around demos for like a few years before being able to go to a studio and actually polish up the tracks to have the album that we have today. But those few years were time well spent, because we're left with this very intense, fun, angry, and hyper album. There's a lot you can pull from this. There's a lot you can feel about it. So I think this has a little something for everyone in a very intense atmosphere in a way. So it's a fantastic album. I own the damn thing. I showed it off during suggestions. In case you didn't watch every song, because I know sometimes people don't watch every song, I have the record. I just put it on the wall behind me. I forgot to show it off at the beginning. I apologize. But there it is. Boom. Album's there. But now Spotify is not there on the screen, because now what we have to do is rank the songs. This time I'm going to pull it down because I usually push it up. This time I pulled it down. Here we go. 13 through 1. Least favorite to favorite, not so great to great, least preferred to preferred. However you want to cut the cake, please get that knife and cut the cake. We have hungry people who need cake, I think. I don't know. But if they don't want cake, they can have song ratings, because that's what it's time to do. I won't waste any more time, so let's just get into this now. So song 13, Qbert. 12, Darts. 11, Peephole. 10, Sweet Pea. 9, The Devil. 8, No. 7, Sugar. 6, Mind. 5, Suggestions. 4, Soil. 3, Spiders. 2, War. And 1, the one I just finished saying great things about, Pluck. Again, that's just the abbreviation of that whole thing too. Pluck, I think, as much as I love War and Soil, and I was like praising all those songs and Spiders and everything like that, Pluck has always stuck with me. Again, not even necessarily for the lyrical content, but just like the structure of the song is fantastic. It's so goddamn good. And to this day, I love going back to it. If I don't listen to a single song on this album, it's at least Pluck that I listen to. That's how it works. But there you go. Song ratings, 13 through 1. Here's my choices. And of course, I want to hear yours too, but I want to hear a lot more about what you think about this album. Because first, now we got to get rid of this. And then we have to bring in this. That's right. It's time to rate the record, the title track of the entire podcast. What did I think about this thing? I have an opinion about it. I have a score about it. It's time to share it. So I guess without further ado, I will do that now. Could you tell that I liked this album? I mean, I think it was pretty obvious from everything I was saying about it. I had very little bad things to say about it. And with all the scores added up, it comes to an A tier, like middle of the road A tier album, 83.46. So it just barely made it into A past A minus. 83.46% A tier album, System of a Down's self-titled album. I can't remember what I scored Toxicity like by myself, because obviously episode 50 was with my former co-host, so like it would have been 2 scores combined. I can't remember what I gave mine. I should have looked up before I actually recorded this, but regardless, I can guarantee I held it in high regard too. I own that one on vinyl. Another one I adored growing up in my teen years and everything like that, very pivotal to the music I started enjoying in my adult years. This one, no different. It's fantastic. People call it a metal album, and by all means, I see why. You can tune the music down all you want. You can be as heavy as you want. This is a punk album. It's raw. It's political. It's just crazy all over the place. This is a punk album. That's just the way I feel about it. That's the way I've always felt about it. I feel that's it. Toxicity went full blast into metal. This is a punk album. Okay, now with that opinion out of the way, see you later. Rate the record. Bye-bye. 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 Okay, just want to make sure it was just hanging around for a while. I had to make sure it left. Anyways, that is the end of the review of this album. So thank you very much for joining me today with this album review. And if you did indeed listen to this album with me as I was reviewing it myself, I want to hear your opinions down in the comments below of wherever you're listening. Audio, video, it doesn't matter. There's comment sections everywhere. Let me know what you thought about this album. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you like or hate System of a Down? Do you agree or disagree with me? How would you rank the songs? How would you rate the record? All of these things and more I want to know down in the comments below. I'm always curious to read these things. I let you know my opinion. I gotta hear yours. Whatever it is, put it down there below. I am so happy to read these things. Like, I've had some videos get a lot of engagement, and it's a lot of fun to read these things. I'm not even talking about algorithmically either. I just like reading your opinions on it. It's interesting to hear other voices about it. But by all means, aside from the comment section below, there are other places you can find to leave your opinions about these albums, and you can find them over at ratetherecord.ca. One more time, ratetherecord.ca. Once again, the streaming links, social media links, the merch links, and the RTR Club are all found at ratetherecord.ca. So make sure you're checking that out, making use of it, because there's a lot to do, a lot to see, and just a lot to hang out and enjoy here on the podcast. Alrighty then. That brings us to the end of this episode. Episode 117 is next week, and boy howdy, next one's a big one. It's a big one. I can't emphasize, big one. It's going to be a longer episode. I can almost promise you. I haven't recorded it yet at the point of recording this one. It's going to be a big one. It's an album celebrating an anniversary. It's a band I like. I've already probably spoiled it just by saying those 2 things. But if I haven't, I hope you have some time next week, because these episodes are generally like 30 to 40 minutes. I feel like next week's going to tip an hour, if not longer. We will see. We will see. But it's going to be a damn good episode. I promise you, a damn good episode. Curious yet? I hope so. I hope to see oh man, I hope to speak well, and I hope to see you back here next week. So until then, go listen to some awesome music, and I will see you then. Take care, friends.